Governor Sandoval, Dr. Scott Brooksby, thank you for letting me speak for a few minutes. I'm an advanced surgical prosthodontist. That's the highest level of specialist that you can have in the field of dentistry. I've practiced since 1990 here in Nevada, solving difficult dental problems. The question before the Board of Examiners whether the budget of the Nevada Board of Dental Examiners should be modified to allow a $500,000 increase in the amount of money the private attorney for the board, Mr. John A. Hunt, may receive for services in investigating and dealing with matters before the Nevada Board of Dental Examiners. This amount is in addition to the salary that the board pays to Mr. Hunt. Why is an increase necessary? During this contract period, Mr. Hunt has billed against me and my dental assistant daughter the following: May 22nd, 2015, hearing investigative costs of $39,000. September 9th, 2015, half-day court appearance against Andrea Brooksby Smith, $27,000. April 23rd, 2016, hearing investigative costs, $48,000, for a total of $114,000. This is about 1/6 of the contract amount allowed under Mr. Hunt's current contract. Based upon this extremely high amount charged against one dentist, you must wonder, who did he kill? Is this dentist public enemy number one? These charges all started because a filling came out of a patient's tooth. I offered immediately to restore the tooth, but the patient insisted that I was involved with Mayor Oscar Goodman and her stalker. 4 months after the filling came out, which was really close to the nerve and which had tooth structure that was still highly susceptible to decay if left exposed to the mouth, it was evaluated by the dental screening officer for the board. Obviously, he found decay. I was given the option of signing a stipulation saying I had not treated the patient properly and paying $700. Because I had acted properly and professionally and attempted to make things right, I declined to sign the stipulation. Most dentists simply sign and pay to make things go away so that they are not at risk, but I had done nothing wrong. Mr. Hunt tells you that the investigations are fair and that you may take your case before the board and even before a judge if you feel you are right. But let us look at the costs each dentist must face in doing so. If you go to an informal hearing, your approximate cost will be between $3,000 and $14,000. If you proceed before the board and they decide against you in any way, the cost is $40,000 to $50,000. This is in addition to the amount you must pay your private attorney to defend you in these matters. If you appeal to the court system, you are then faced with approximately $100,000 in costs. What sane person would not look at those prospective costs and decide not to pay the smaller amount of $3,000 to $14,000 and sign whatever document you are required to sign? Oh, by the way, if you lose in the case before the dental board, you may also lose your license. I decided, despite these potential costs, that I had done nothing wrong and took my case to the full board. At the first step, let's look at what happens. I went to my informal hearing to provide the documentation that had been subpoenaed. I told them that I did not want to participate in the informal hearing because I had been through that before and had helped other dentists and knew that they did not pay attention to your defense and were all about coercing you to sign a stipulation. I was told that I must stay for the hearing, even though later Mr. Hunt insisted that I was there voluntarily. I was there voluntarily only to avoid being charged with contempt of court. Is that really voluntary? NRS 631-360 paragraph 2 states that the board must give each person being investigated 10 days notice before beginning any disciplinary action. NAC 631.250 paragraph 1 allows them to expand their investigation into whatever area they feel may allow a violation of the Dental Practice Act. Mr. Hunt uses this provision to allow him to bring forth additional items during the informal hearing and insists that you answer to these additional complaints without having received the 10-day notice required by NRS 631-360 paragraph 2. Without time to prepare a proper defense, the dentist and his attorney are expected to answer these additional complaints on the spur of the moment. This violation of due process was never intended by the legislature, but was voted into the administrative code by the board, trained and supervised by Mr. Hunt. At this informal hearing, almost all dental personnel cave in and decide that the cost to defend themselves will be too high, and if they want this to stop, they will sign anything just to make it stop. During my hearing, they brought up the use of ozone in dentistry, claiming that I was using a poisonous gas that was harmful to the patients. I pointed out that I had been approved by the Nevada Board of Dental Examiners to provide a 2-hour continuing education course on the use of ozone in dentistry. That was ignored. I was accused of illegally, by the way, ozone actually is one of the first things we found that can reverse decay without shots or drilling. That's what we've always sought for, but not in Nevada. I was accused of illegally using MACP, member of the American College of Prosthodontists, after my name, and that this was considered false advertising. I still have never been shown what law this violates. I was accused of having the statement that I could put patients to sleep on my website. I indicated that I had been trained to use hypnosis. They told me that the Dental Practice Act specified that you had to have a conscious sedation permit to use any method, whether with or without drugs, that might alter a patient's consciousness. I later provided a letter from Dr. Dan Orr, the head of maxilla and orofacial surgery at the Department of UNLV Dental School, indicating that he taught his dental students that they could safely use hypnosis in treating their patients. By the way, when they subpoenaed my records, the last time I had used hypnosis to induce a sleep-like state was in 1993. I was accused of allowing a dental assistant to use a laser even though NAC 631.215 paragraph 2A allows such use. I pointed out that the patient had used a healing laser on herself that I provided, but they refused to listen to that either. I took all of this to the full dental board at a hearing on May 22nd, 2015, and they found against me on all charges except the one about the dental assistant and the laser. They assessed costs and investigative costs of $39,000. One of the responsibilities of a government agency is to protect the public at all times and as expeditiously as possible. Mr. Hunt said the executive director of the board, Ms. Kugel Schaefer, authorized an undercover investigation as a result of an anonymous complaint that my dental assistant / daughter was telling patients that she was a dental hygienist. It later turned out that the anonymous, unverified complaint was from a former dental assistant that was angry because she thought that we had not sent flowers to her son's funeral. We did send them, by the way, but the florist delivered them late. I presented all of these findings to the state of Washington. The state of Washington ruled that none of the things that the Board of Dental Examiners had ruled against me were of consequence. My license was revoked in the state of Nevada. Because of that revocation, despite their findings, Washington State then suspended my license because that's what Washington state law says. If it's revoked in another state, you have it suspended in that state also. My ability to support my family has been terminated by the illegal and improper use of the Board of Dental Examiners. I would request that in addition to going against the board and against Mr. Hunt, I would really request that the board or the governor review the letter that I provided to the governor from the Washington Dental Board and rescind the revocation of my dental license so that the suspension of my Washington dental license may be lifted. The Washington Dental Board looked at the same accusations brought against me and decided there was minimal risk. That's a second opinion, not influenced by the legal people. All I did that put me on the target was I and Dr. Ruiz worked to try and change the law. And when you try and change a law that takes the money out of the pockets of a private attorney that's using his position for the board to drive business to his private practice, which I would think is unethical, because he's not a state employee, ethics don't apply. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your help.